All right, before we get started, TechCrunch asked me to make one announcement. Look under your chairs. Everyone should find a iPhone 5. No, it's just us, sorry. All right, so you guys are sort of re-debuting. You haven't been talking in public for a while. Yes, and they're not going to talk in public now. When I checked out, I used Twitter to sort of ask folks what should we talk about, and I think responses fell into one of three areas. A lot of folks think you still work at Twitter. A lot of folks want to know about the fake meat, and then some folks want to know about Obvious. So I think we'll cover all three of those. So
right.
you don't still work at Twitter?
We don't work at Twitter on a daily basis. I'm on the board of Twitter still and try to help out when I can, and Biz advises in various ways. But mostly we're focused on Obvious and a bunch of projects under that umbrella.
Got it. So Obvious is, I guess, launched but relaunched. It's not a incubator, but you've got companies that come hang out there. It's not an investment fund per se, but you invest in companies. And you're also building Medium. So what is Obvious?
Obvious is really, it's an excuse for me, Evan, and Jason Goldman to work together. I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it, is that it's three people who have shared values, who really enjoy working together, and really believe that really cool, good stuff comes from a very organic atmosphere of just getting together and working on things. So that's Obvious, and that's the sort of spirit of Obvious. And then the other part of it is we do whatever it takes to help people and projects who are sort of philosophically aligned with us succeed. Mm-hmm. And we do that. The way we describe doing that is we do it sort of in whatever way makes sense. So we have various resources. We have, marketing capabilities, we have design prowess, engineering prowess, and we have money. And we deploy all those as resources. And wherever it makes most sense and on certain projects.
So since you started Obvious, the name, first time around, and Twitter sprung out of that. So now, a bunch of years later, you are older and wiser. We're
older.
Wealthier. Your parents. How does that change your approach to starting a company? Why not just be advisors, angels, take it easy?
Well, I tried being a ski bum when I left Twitter, and I was very bad at that.
That was the beard phase.
Yeah, I did have a beard then, and I was okay at skiing, although I couldn't keep up with my wife, and so I decided I needed to work some more. And really, I think what we're driven to do is interesting things in the world, and we spent a long time in the beginning figuring out how we do that, and then we realized we should kind of let that evolve like we let our products evolve, with a clear sort of values and mission driving it, but figure it out organically as we go. Mm-hmm. And I get really excited building things. Biz and Jason really get excited helping companies succeed, and like we said, it's satisfying. It's a hell of a lot more fun than skiing every day, in my experience. So that's what we're doing.
Got it. And so the first product that you've worked a lot on that's come out of Obvious is Medium. I think that you guys launched in beta preview kind of last one?
Yeah, just a couple of weeks ago, maybe, I guess coming up on a month ago, we launched what I would call a preview of Medium. It wasn't the whole product. And it's, that's what we have an amazing team of engineers and designers at our office downtown working on that every day. I'm
not sure everyone's seen it. Can you give the sort of, how do you describe what Medium is?
Medium is essentially a publishing platform, and it's along the lines of stuff we worked on before. Biz helped start Zynga, not to be confused with Zynga, back like 12 years ago, and I and my team started Blogger 13 years ago, and we've kind of been obsessed with publishing and media and the whole idea of the democratization of information, which is really one of the biggest promises of the internet. We've been working on that for a long time. And we decided to do another project in that area because we just thought there's still more stuff to do.
Right. So Blogger, anybody can publish. Twitter, anybody can publish. But in this preview of Medium, only a select few can publish, although everybody can read. That seems a little bit different than the open democracy, level playing field.
Right.
Why are you doing it that way?
I'm glad you asked that, because there's a little bit of confusion, because one of the things we've talked about with Medium is what we want to achieve is helping high quality content succeed and get attention. That's true, and it's true that not everybody can write. Those are not that related to each other. Our approach to putting the focus on high quality content is not to limit who can publish. It's just as focused on democratization as our other products, and even more so in some respects. It just happens to be, we launched in private beta. And it's kind of hard to throw the doors open in today's internet. In Blogger, we said everybody could publish when we launched it in 1999, because there weren't that many people who cared.
Right.
And now we're just trying to roll it out responsibly and slowly. So that is definitely not part of the ethos of Medium or the plan with Medium to be closed in any way. It's just a natural progression of moving a product from private beta to open.
We learned a few things about just opening up the doors.
Yeah, so talk a little bit more about what quality sounds like a judgment. Who's deciding that something's high quality or not?
I liked Ev used a word a little while ago where he said we want to make it worthwhile for people to spend time on the network. So why don't you expand?
Well, in terms of how we figure out quality, that will be a long standing project. I look at it similar to how does Google figure out quality. It's algorithmic, and it's based on people's behavior out in the world, and lots of data. And so we're going to take a similar approach. It's not an editorial perspective. And what we have so far is simply one of the things that you can see in Medium today is we've organized things around our judgment of quality or ranking instead of chronologically. And that's based on a realization that we're dealing in a world where there's just too much stuff to pay attention to, and yet there's information and knowledge and stories and entertainment are needed. And so the web has been focused, and I would say is still focused primarily on what's new. The newest stuff at the top, give me my feed, let me catch up with what I missed, but you're never going to catch up with what you missed anymore. That's gone. So I think we need to reorient our tools to recognize the fact that you're not going to see everything that's even potentially interesting or useful to you. So what we've started doing is saying, okay, here's the best stuff within this category or collection of, as we call it on Medium, and that will evolve over time. And best is, did people read it? Did people say it was good? Pretty primitive measures, right, admittedly, at this point, but those will evolve.
So you talked a little bit about what are the failings of real time, and I think potentially no service more than Twitter has emphasized real time. Was this something that you had wanted to get to at Twitter, the idea of not just chronology, but what should you be reading?
Well, the focus at Twitter, one of the goals has always been how do we get people the best tweets that are interesting to them. But the nature of Twitter is much more about real time, and that's where a lot of the value comes from. So I wouldn't say they're really designed to address different problems and to be complementary.
And one of the things that I like to say is that we've accomplished so much amazing stuff over the past 15 years on the internet, and when
you mean we? No.
This group in this room, no, and when we have companies like just big social networks and big search engine companies publicly saying we are going to connect all 7 billion people in the world to each other and give them all a voice. I think to myself, I believe you, but then what? What do we do after that? And so that, if and when that happens, that's just the beginning of a whole new huge amount of work, which is, okay, so now, I think it was Einstein famously said that information is not knowledge. So just getting more information doesn't mean we're going to get smarter. So now that everyone's connected and everyone has a voice and it's all coming at us and it's infinite, how do we work to transmute infinite information into knowledge and understanding, and then from knowledge and understanding, how do we make that jump to real world action and actually getting things done?
Transmute. We're talking information alchemy.
Yes, information alchemy, that's a good new phrase.
So given your experiences, do you think that Medium is a API or is it a platform? Do you have a quadrant chart to show us today?
Right now, it's a content platform. And there's different types of platforms. We haven't published any sort of API or development platform on top of it. If it, that's always something that is intriguing to do if a platform can sustain that, and it's complementary, but it's not something we're focused on right now.
Got it.
There's a lot of thinking I was doing about platforms and APIs, and it's arguable about whether or not Ev is actually the first person to ever have launched a consumer web API, right? With Blogger.
Wikipedia pages are being updated as you say that.
I mean, was Blogger? I don't know. That's a whole separate conversation. But
I don't know if that's true, but I built an API into Blogger in 2001, and I was really excited about that and just the potential, and certainly we've seen that evolve to, so every web application has an API, it's just expected, but I think you have to be really conscious about what you're trying to do with it and why. And so we're taking the same route with Medium. I would say we didn't have that all figured out with Twitter, I will go on the record admitting. So we want to do a better job.
How do we make it so that it's awesome for users?
Right.
Is like sort of the big question.
So you mentioned Blogger, and although folks know Blogger as a very successful publishing tool, the first few years were not easy, right? I mean, you had to lay folks off. For a while, it might have only been you and servers.
Right. Yeah. There were some lonely nights with the servers in 2001, especially. Yeah.
And so now, especially, you guys are helping companies get launched. You're writing checks. Is it too easy now? Do entrepreneurs expect too much? Are they not ready for the struggle?
I think there's probably some entrepreneurs out in this audience that would say, no, it's not easy. But it's awesome. I mean, maybe entrepreneurs don't have the same relationship with their servers, and they're not freezing cold and sitting in a cage trying to fix things, but that's progress. There's all these really cool.
I think it's just a matter of value is moving up the stack, and the fact that you can launch something and actually build a substantial service and business without ever touching hardware is a pretty huge advancement. But there's still as many, or actually way more people competing with you to add value to the world and to reach customers and to solve problems. So that doesn't make it easier. It means you need to you need to build value on top of that, what has become more and more commodity. And the commodity layer will keep growing, and that means things have to be able to build on top of it. And that's part of the reason why today you have to launch, if you want any attention in the world and you're launching consumer or even enterprise, you have to pay a hell of a lot more attention to design and user experience than you did 10 years ago. And that's just table stakes now, whereas you could really stand out a decade ago by having good design. It's like, oh wow, this thing actually looks good and it's easy to use. That's an anomaly in this world, because most of the time is spent making the software work. And but that's, you have to compete on business, on marketing, on the design, and everything else, and that's just as hard or harder, but it takes a different set of skills and focus.
Then why aren't people thinking bigger? Sometimes people are saying there's more companies, but the ideas are trivial. Yeah. When you guys are looking at folks you want to fund or bring into Obvious, is one of the judgments you're making, the potential impact this could have, the scale, is the problem worth solving?
Yeah, definitely.
It's that. It's also is the two sort of major points I guess would be, is this a project that we would be happy to see successful in the world even if we had absolutely nothing to do with it? And then the second one would be, can we actually be helpful? Do we have something to bring to this project that will make it even more successful? So we think about those two things when we're visiting with young or new entrepreneurs with cool ideas and projects like Lyft or Branch and all of these other things we're working on.
Where does the existence or potential of a business model fit in there? You know, you guys have been successful creating stuff that has been widely deployed, and people say that Twitter's starting to do well from a revenue perspective, but certainly cases where the reach and the headlines have outstripped the proven sustainability.
I think that idea is completely overblown in the industry. There aren't things that are incredibly popular that can't make money and that have to shut out the lights because, oh shit, we didn't figure out the business model, but everybody loves our thing. It just doesn't happen. People talk about that a lot, but you can't name a company that was actually popular and unique and solving problems legitimately and not getting sued because they're out of business. And there just aren't any examples that I've been able to think of. So it's always kind of driven me nuts. I mean, with Twitter, it was clearly there was a huge business model in Twitter from the beginning. We knew this, that we didn't choose to focus on it for many years. It was like, oh, what are they going to do? They're looking for a business model. They can't find one. And like pictures of us walking around the office, looking under the couches. Is there a business model here? If only we had a business model.
When you have 12 people, you can't afford to put like 4 people on figuring that out. We need to build an awesome product that's going to show value. Once it shows value to hundreds of millions of people, there will certainly be a business model.
So your advice to Josh at Branch and Tony at Lyft and these folks are user experience, get popular?
It's not always the case. And so, yeah, our advice to them is there's great business models here. That doesn't mean that it's wrong also to start with a business model, if that makes sense. And certain times having the business model in place will help drive growth and it'll be complementary. So it's not like we're anti-business model either, but I don't think we've ever looked at something and said, that's amazing, we want it to succeed in the world whether we're involved or not, but it won't make money, because just don't believe that's true.
And so some of the things Obvious are involved in have benefits besides profits and revenue. They're tasty. Fake meat, although you corrected me, it's not fake meat.
It's meat.
It's meat.
It just comes from a different source. Yeah. If you've tried it, you know that it's very meaty and delicious.
So I was very surprised. People kept saying they want to know about Beyond Meat.
Well, okay, so I'll just give you the short story there. It was a few years ago, I was at Twitter, and I was down at Kleiner Perkins for some meeting. I forget what it was for, but Eric Feng, who's no longer there, bumped into me and said, hey, we're thinking of doing a seed investment for this scientist and this farmer guy who are developing this this high protein meat product that's based on plant materials. Would you mind meeting with us about it and seeing if it's worth us pursuing? And at first I was like, oh man, it's going to be a bunch of like hippy dippies, like save the animals and stuff like that. And when I met with them, it was big science, and it was an even bigger ambition to be a major player in the multi-billion-dollar food industry and meat industry. And in fact, it's the meat buyers in supermarkets and stuff that are requesting our product. Mm-hmm. It's not a novelty food. It's not going to be in some special section. It's going to be in with the meat. And so I said, this is amazing. I would love to be an advisor, and it should be a whole thing. And then, so when they got further along and they needed to raise a round, I introduced them to Ev, and we became a lead investor. And
so is it available now? Can people go and
right now it's only
meat?
Available at Whole Foods Northern California, and it's in their prepared food section. So you go, you get a chicken salad made out of it.
And it tastes just like chicken.
It's The New York Times food critic thought that chicken was fake chicken and Beyond Meat was the real chicken, and so he was embarrassed by that. But
I'm waiting for the headlines. Forget the Twitter business model stuff. I think folks are going to focus
well, it's
on the meat.
fantastic because it has like something like 4 times more protein, low carbs, low fat. It's incredibly, I mean, I wrote about it. If you just go to obvious.com, you'll get redirected to the piece about it. But there are so many different ways to get excited about it. Like, you could care about the environment because it's proactive there. You could care about health, it's proactive there. You could care about animal welfare, it's proactive there. You could care about world hunger, it has impact there. I mean, there's any of like 6 or 7 reasons to get excited about the product, which we're excited about all of them. And it's awesome. It's super tasty. So we just had to get involved in it, and the founder and CEO is such a great guy, and it's a great team. So
So besides doing good through the world, through Obvious and through some of Obvious companies, you guys are also parents now. And there was recently an article, actually, focused on women, that sort of this "can you have it all" question. You guys are trying to be dads, building new companies. Are there tensions, pressure there to sort of give yourself all to the startup, but have a more balanced life? Can guys have it all?
Sure. I mean, I think everybody is busier than, it seems like they can handle sometimes, and kids are a huge part of it. They're an immovable object in your life, and
that moves a lot.
And and
towards electrical outlets.
My optimistic side is you just have to get more efficient and more focused as you get older. I mean, I did nothing but work 24/7, 365 in my 20s, but I did a lot of dumb stuff. So hopefully I can be as productive by doing fewer dumb things and being more focused when I am at work and achieving that balance.
I put time with Jacob and Livia into my calendar I know it sounds silly when I say it out loud, but putting them in the calendor and dedicating the time to spend with them and making it a priority, it's what I've said, being smarter about your time. You just have to make it work.
And you have to say no to way more things. And that's the other thing. As you get older, you also get all kinds of other opportunities in life besides kids. And you have to say, if you want your business to succeed and you care about your family and want to spend time with them, say no to everything else, then you can do it. And so I don't go to bars anymore. So I spend time.
He has people who bring him drinks.
Yes, I drink in private.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I think that sounds like good advice regardless of age. Thank you very much for coming out to TechCrunch Disrupt, and good luck with Obvious.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah.